This video will show you how to make yogurt. In this case, I'm using a gallon of milk, so I've got 4 quart containers to put that in. And these are all the things you would need to complete the process, with the one additional thing of a stove of some type to heat the milk to 180 degrees before you cool it and then mix in the yogurt. So what I have here is a container for the milk, a blanket for around the cooler when the cooler is filled with the warm mixture, and a gallon of milk, which will be heated to start the process, and just something to mix the milk and yogurt in. So I have a couple spoons and starter yogurt in that smaller dish there, which is 4 teaspoons of yogurt from the last time I made it. So that's 1 teaspoon per quart. And as I said before, the 4 quart jars, they can be ball jars or any containers you'd like, although I find the larger size jars making a full gallon, maybe that helps to have that much mass of fluid so that the temperature stays warm enough for the process to work without any external heating source after we've heated the milk and cooled it. So you don't need a yogurt maker to do this, just simply these things. And then the last thing I haven't mentioned is some sort of thermometer, because the temperature is pretty important to get right to have this all work. So there you have it. I'll show you with the rest of the video how the process looks. So here's 1 gallon of milk in my pan, and I'm heating it to 180 degrees. We're up to 116, and it's under a kind of a medium heat. We don't want to burn the bottom of the pan by heating too hot all at once, but I've even had success when there was a little bit of burn. I just didn't scrape the bottom. Anyway, so this is 1 gallon of yogurt being prepared by just heating the milk to 180 degrees. Then I'm going to turn off the burner, let it sit until it settles down to between 106 and 109. And then I'll put my little bit of starter, 1 teaspoon of yogurt with active cultures in it, either from an old batch or from the store. 1 teaspoon per quart, so I'll use 4 teaspoons for this amount of milk. And then I mixed it up in a little slurry and then spread it between the 4 quart jars, and I'll show you that once the time comes. All right, I realize you want to see everything probably, so here's the milk at about 115 being poured in to my 4 containers. They don't have to be exact. We're going to take out some milk to mix with the starter. So if they're close to full, that's good, just because I can reach better with a spoon to get out the bit to mix with the starter. All right, I'll be back when the temperature is right. I'll put my thermometer in there. Okay, my temperature is definitely low enough. It's down to 107.3, which is just still okay. I don't need to check them all because I know they're close to that, and certainly cool enough to start packing. So here's where I just use a few big spoons, fulls from each one. I usually do 2 or 3, but I like to mix up kind of the slurry to get the starter really mixed in so that it's all basically smooth and not lumpy. Then I'll put in a little more milk just so I have more to kind of pour in equally. Somehow having more makes it feel like I can distribute it more evenly because it's diluted a bit more. So they're all similar levels now, I'd say. So I'll stir that up one more time and then simply pour in about same amount into each quart container. It's a little bit lumpy this time, but I think that's okay. About equal. It's always a little bit of a guessing game, but I think I got that pretty well distributed. And then I just simply stir each one back and forth a bit, just to agitate it enough to really get that yogurt starter distributed in the new milk. It's cooled to between 106 and 109. So I like to work sort of quickly here because I don't want it to cool too much. So there's one with a ball jar lid, but most of these have this, whatever, these gasket type ball jar lids. And I'll stick them now in a cooler. And then I do simply, to finish the process for its yogurt to be made for the next 8 hours in these jars, is just to cover. I cover them with a blanket in the cooler just because there's lots of room in this cooler. And then I take the cooler over here, you might be able to see, and I wrap the whole thing in a big blanket. So I just fold the blanket around the cooler, wrap it up like a mummy, and then, since it's getting to be cooler weather, we have a wood stove on, so I'll put it nearby. It doesn't have to be warm though. There's enough warmth in the surroundings. I mean, you don't want it outside in the cold, but just room temperature is fine. But when I have a fire going, sometimes I let the gentle heat of the chimney have it be nearby. But not necessary. I've done this just in a room that's about 60 or 65 degrees, and in 8 hours, or sometimes 9 if it seems a little watery, I will have perfect yogurt. It's worked literally every time I've made it for the last 5 years or so, which is about once every 2 or 3 weeks. All right, I'll show you the result in 8 hours. So it's been 8 hours since the last video. So here is the yogurt in the big blanket. So I'm going to take it out, check it out. So this is the first peek I've had. We don't want to open it during that 8 hours because you don't want to lose the heat that's contained in the hot milk that allows this to happen. So there we go. That's one that looks quite solid. I think that's ready to go. Same with that one. They're probably all about the same. This one has a little water around it, but yeah, not quite as solid to the edges, but once it's refrigerated, it tends to firm up even more. So I'll just crack one open and try it out. So here's freshly made yogurt. It's still warm, quite warm, so it won't be quite as solid as when it sits. I usually cool it sometimes by the door for a while, but then in the fridge, of course, soon. So I'm going to taste it. Quite good. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and the point that I want to make with this yogurt making process is that you really do not need any heating device for the yogurt to form. All you need is something to trap the heat of the hot milk that's been cooled from 180 degrees. So I really like that you don't need devices to make it. Simply some sort of insulated cooler wrapped with blankets. You could probably even just wrap it in blankets if you have nice thick wool blankets. The containers could probably be put directly in there, but it's sort of nice to have a container. It makes It makes it a little more stable. So enjoy. Hope you have luck. Feel free to comment or ask questions. I'm very happy to answer, and I hope you've enjoyed this video.